All right, Guff Gang, we did it. We're here. We're live. Can you believe it? Joey Marino here from Grown Up Fantasy Football, here to do some Week 15 start sit questions. I know what you're thinking, what goes on. It's who do I start? What's going on? Who should I sit? Who's inactive? Everything. It's tough. It's tough setting that lineup, but hey, I'm here for you. I'm here to help set that lineup for you. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this together. I'm not going to hold your hand, but I'm going to help answer your questions. So, hey, we got 30 minutes to do this. So, I've taken a bunch of questions that we've gotten from YouTube, from our Twitter at GrownUpFF. I'm here to answer some of those questions that we've got. But before I get into that, real quick, if you want to hit that subscribe button down below, we are going to be putting out our rankings for week 16 and week 17 if you're playing then. If you hit that subscribe button, you'll get it all for free too. And once the fantasy season's over, we're going to be doing some playoff pick'ems. So you don't want to miss this kind of content. So if you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon, you're going to get notified whenever we're posting. And if you want to follow us on Twitter at GrownUpFF, you'll get all kinds of fantasy football content for you to just enjoy. It's going to be great. We're excited. I'm excited. I'm ready to get into this. So, without further ado, let's do some start sit questions. So, let's start with quarterback. Okay. First people to touch the ball, first people that get their question answered. All right. Jalen Hurts versus Ben Roethlisberger. This is a tough one, okay, because the Steelers have been throwing the ball a ton lately. Their offense has been less than the production from their offense has been less than ideal. But Ben Roethlisberger's throwing the ball like 50 times a game, which is tons of opportunity for you, and it's a good matchup. Cincinnati doesn't have the best defense. Yeah, so it's not bad there. Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, is going against Arizona. Not the worst matchup, but not the best. But what's intriguing about Hurts is he has a pretty solid rushing floor, at least from a one game sample. Okay. But he ran against the best defense in the NFL. That's saying something there. If I had to pick between these two, which I am right now, I think it's a very slim margin between the two of them. I think I'd go Jalen Hurts. I think it's strange to say, he's a little bit of a safer play just because of his ability to rush and run the ball. Roethlisberger's not doing that as much, but he's going to throw the ball a ton. It's a good matchup. I think Hurts over Roethlisberger just slightly. Let's do another quarterback matchup. Here's one. Let's pick one between Kirk Cousins, Mitch Trubisky, and Baker Mayfield. So I think we had this one on one of our YouTube videos, a comment. And this is kind of a tough one. Last week, Mitch Trubisky, he just lit it up. And he had Baker against the Giants and Cousins against Chicago. I think there's an order between these three quarterbacks. And I think I would go, crazy to say, I think I'd go Baker above the other two. So what's interesting about Baker is he's a matchup against the Giants, and they are without James Bradbury this week. So that means Jarvis Landry doesn't have a really tough matchup to go against. Rashard Higgins is free. Austin Hooper, if he's playing, has some freedom too. The thing about the Browns is they're a run first team with a stud running back with two very capable running backs. And I project Chubb and Kareem Hunt to be probably top 20 backs this week. But the play action game is there. Stefanski is a genius with play action, and Baker should have a pretty good day. He's been playing a lot better as of late. So I think I'd go Baker, but I think Cousins, it's tough. It's a tough matchup against Chicago. They're a really good secondary, but I'd rank them Baker, Cousins, Trubisky. Slight margins between all three of them, though. And here's another one we had Baker versus Ben. This is tough as well. I just talked about all three of these, or two of these quarterbacks. And I think I'd go Ben here. It's a good matchup, and I think the opportunity for Ben to throw the ball a lot more is there. So I would go Roethlisberger over Mayfield. But let's take Jalen Hurts in there too. And if I had to rank the three of those, slight margins between all three, I'd go Hurts, Roethlisberger, and Mayfield. So there's some quarterback plays for you. Let's go with a flex play that I got from Twitter this morning. Full PPR, Jeff Wilson, Gus Edwards, or Darnell Mooney. Um, so I think, all three of these guys have some upside. I think the safest play out of the three of those is Jeff Wilson. Um, he's going to have more of the lead back role. Gus Edwards has the goal line opportunity. They're always there for him, and it's a positive matchup. All three of these players have good matchups. But with Darnell Mooney, he had some flash with Nick Foles behind center. Mitch Trubisky's back, and I've said it. I think Zach and James have both said it. Uh, Mitch Trubisky only really has eyes for Allen Robinson, so I don't think I'm playing Mooney here. I think it's really between Wilson and Edwards, and I think I'd lean Wilson. Both teams are run heavy, but Wilson has a little more of the lead back role. I'd go Jeff Wilson out of these guys, even though it is full PPR. I think Jeff Wilson can still get maybe a couple passes in there. He still gets goal line work too. He's probably the safest play though. Here's a wide receiver matchup for you guys. Start two: Brandon Ayuk, T.Y. Hilton, Deontay Johnson, Amari Cooper, and Jarvis Landry. Okay, so let's see here. Brandon Ayuk has been killing it in fantasy lately. He's got probably a pretty solid floor with Nick Mullins under center. He looks at Ayuk a lot. Deebo Samuel is gone, so Ayuk has a lot of upside for this week. T.Y. Hilton has played pretty well for like the past couple of matchups. We're getting the T.Y. Hilton of old. Deontay Johnson looks like the leader in target share in Pittsburgh. Amari Cooper, he's a great receiver. He always has potential to flash. And Jarvis Landry is a great receiver on a run-first team. If I had to pick two out of the five of these guys, first off, congrats on having all these guys in your lineup. I mean, that's some really good options to choose from. I think the safest out of these guys is Ayuk, so I would pick him. And out of the rest of them, good matchups for everybody in here except Amari Cooper. Talent is on his side. Out of the rest of these guys, tough, really tough. I think I would go. Hard to trust T.Y. Hilton. I think I'd go Amari Cooper. And no, that's not the Alabama bias coming out. I think, the talent is there. It's a really tough matchup. But San Francisco could get ahead, and then you're playing garbage time. Andy Dalton's got to air it out, and Amari Cooper's wide receiver one on a really loaded roster, honestly. So I think I would definitely go Ayuk, and I think I'd go Amari Cooper out of those. Here's a tight end question for us. How about Logan Thomas versus Evan Ingram? All right. Both talented tight ends. I think Evan Ingram is more talented. It's a tough one though. Logan Thomas behind Terry McLaurin is looking like the best target for that Washington offense. However, that's with Alex Smith playing. Now, Dwayne Haskins is starting for the Washington football team, and we've all seen him hyper target Terry McLaurin. It's looked like a real Mitch Trubisky, Allen Robinson situation. But Logan Thomas has some upside. It's a positive matchup against Seattle, who is a pretty weak defense against the secondary. And Evan Ingram on the other side. All right, Daniel Jones is out. Colt McCoy is in. Um, Cleveland, on the other hand, has been not that great against wide receivers and tight ends either. I think the thing that for Cleveland's defense, the biggest thing for them is Miles Garrett is a freak, and if he can get inside, and if he can get to Colt McCoy, then I mean obviously that takes away from Evan Ingram. Out of these two, I think I'd go Evan Ingram, and I say that because it's hard to trust Dwayne Haskins under center. Um, I think Evan Ingram is a better talent. Colt McCoy has shown he's capable of managing the game, but you're taking a risk with both these guys. It's tough, but I think I'd lean Ingram a little bit over Logan Thomas. All right, we got one in the chat right here from Cole Kids 31. Thanks for submitting. Robert Woods, Justin Jefferson, or Adam Thielen, and we got to pick one. All right, so these are three talented receivers, and Justin Jefferson has kind of become the number one in this Minnesota offense. It's a tall task for both of these Vikings receivers. Chicago is a very good secondary. Um, and Robert Woods, on the other hand, is up against the Jets, the worst team in the NFL by far. So the thing with receivers is you're tied to your quarterback, right? We all know that. And you look at the quarterbacks in both teams, Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff, both have shown greatness and both have shown weakness all season. I think the matchup is better. We all know that for Robert Woods over Jefferson or Thielen, but Jefferson has been so good all season. It's really hard to sit him. It's the playoffs. You're looking for that home run. Tough matchup. I'd stick with Jefferson, though. I think I would stick with Jefferson. But I think all three of them can have good days. I think Robert Woods, Jefferson probably has the highest upside. After him, I'm going to go Woods and then Thielen. So I'd take Jefferson out of the three. Thanks for submitting, Cole Kids. Let's go some running backs right here. We got one, I think, came from Twitter. Cam Akers versus Chris Carson. All right, so Cam Akers last week was the boss, and we were all waiting for this to happen. We were all waiting for Cam Akers to finally take the lead back role in a Rams offense that can run the ball very well, and he shone. He shone brightly. And it looks like he got the role away from Darrell Henderson, Malcolm Brown. Cam Akers is the lead back. Very good matchup right here with the Jets. Okay, really good matchup. Other side, we got Chris Carson. Now, Chris Carson has pretty much always had volume on his side for his fantasy career. Okay, because Seattle's love to run the ball a ton. This year's been a different story, though. They're letting Russ cook, and the thing is, Chris Carson's not running as much, but he's still been pretty efficient all year because he's getting passing work. He's dealt with some injury. So is Cam Akers. So both these guys are healthy. Both these guys are back. It's the matchup for Chris Carson that kind of scares me, though. Washington's defensive front has been stout. Chase Young could be Defensive Rookie of the Year. You got Montez Sweat on the other edge. You got Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen in the middle. This defensive line is pretty solid. And if they can get inside, get into the backfield, cause havoc, it's going to be a long day for Seattle. I know it's crazy saying that. Who would have thought that beginning of the year, after watching Seattle just run through defenses with this incredible offense, and Washington, is apparently in first for the NFC East. It's tough. Chris Carson and Cam Akers. I think both of them have very good upside, but I think Cam Akers has the better upside. Cam Akers, the thing with him, LA could get out to a lead on the Jets, which we've seen basically every team do. And if they get out to a heavy lead, they're going to lean on the run. And Cam Akers could be just racking up points. He could bust off a big one today and get you, 12 points off the bat in like the first half, and then just they'll gas him throughout the rest of the second half. So I'm going to go Cam Akers in this situation. I have him as a running back one. And Chris Carson is right outside there. I have him at 13 or 14 in my rankings. So I'm going to go Akers. Um, we got another one right here in the chat. Cole Kids, thanks again. Nick Chubb, David Montgomery, or James Robinson. All right. These are all running back ones. If you have to choose from the three of these guys, props to you for having all three on your roster. We have tremendous upside for Montgomery, tremendous upside for Chubb, and not as good upside for James Robinson. Chubb's against the Giants, Montgomery is against the Vikings, and Robinson's against the Ravens. Not a great matchup for James Robinson, but he's basically been matchup proof all season long. I think there was a stat I saw that he's scored double-digit points, I think 15 points or more in every game except like week 1 and I think week 5. And another thing is he's been getting some targets too. So James Robinson is kind of matchup proof. Then you got David Montgomery and Nick Chubb. David Montgomery going against the Vikings, who've given up a ton of yards on the ground, and he has been fantasy gold for the last half of the season. He's basically gotten you into the playoffs if you've been starting him. It's really hard to sit him, honestly. And Nick Chubb is one of the best backs in the NFL. Okay, he's right up there with Derrick Henry in terms of yards on the season. So Cole Kids, I think if you're still watching, let me know if that's start 1 or start 2. I'm guessing it's start 1. And if I had to pick one out of these guys, I know I just said it's so hard to sit David Montgomery, but Nick Chubb is probably the one I would go with. He has been playing lights out. With an injury, he's missed 4 games, and he's still second to Derrick Henry. I see you also have Derrick Henry. Props to you. You have an incredible lineup. I would probably start Nick Chubb. Add 3 of those guys. It's tough. But yeah, I'd go Chubb. I think Montgomery has a lot of upside. Robinson doesn't have the matchup, but Nick Chubb, he's the man. He's the man with a plan. So let's go Nick Chubb. Let's go wide receivers right here. We got some wide receiver questions we've got. So here's one I think we saw on YouTube a little bit earlier. Deontay Johnson versus Chris Godwin. So I've talked a little bit about Deontay Johnson in one of our other start sit questions. So Chris Godwin on the Bucs going against Atlanta. Terrific matchup right here. I think Godwin has a lot of upside in this matchup. And Deontay Johnson, he's the target leader on the Steelers, but is that saying much? The Steelers have had so many drops all season. They can't get the run game established either. I think it's a little clear on this one. I think I'd go Chris Godwin. Now, Godwin's missed some time. He's had a few injuries. But through all that, he's been really efficient. He's getting a double-digit average yard per catch. I'm not looking for touchdowns here. I'm looking more at opportunity. And Atlanta's been a stout run defense. Now, we've seen for the second week in a row, Leonard Fournette is inactive. Ronald Jones is out with coronavirus. So it's tough to really depend on the run. I think they're running LaShawn McCoy out there. So I think they're going to lean on the pass a lot more on a soft secondary. I can say that. I'm an Atlanta fan. I'd go Chris Godwin in this matchup. All right. We got another one in the chat from Mac Mells. We got Culkmet or Jordan Reed. Okay. Interesting right here. Not the 2 top-tier tight ends, but we've got some interesting matchups. Jordan Reed for San Francisco going up against Dallas, and Culkmet's going up against Minnesota. So Culkmet has kind of come along, I think 3 or 4 weeks back. There's a lot of tight ends in Chicago. We saw this offseason. They acquired so many tight ends, and it drafted Culkmet as well. Jordan Reed has a very good matchup right here. It's tough, Both these guys are not top-tier tight ends, but you're looking for value, probably waiver guys that you picked up. Maybe Jordan Reed stashed on your bench. opportunity is what I'm looking for with tight end. I'm looking for that upside. Culkmet has shown flashes of it. I think I'd go Jordan Reed because Debo Samuel's out. Yeah, they like to run the ball in the red zone. They're probably going to run the ball. I think Chicago's going to run the ball in the red zone too. I think I'd slightly lean Reed just a little more because Debo Samuel is out. Brandon Ayuk is the main weapon, but after him, don't have much left. I think Jordan Reed assumes kind of that number 2 role there. And with Chicago, you've got Allen Robinson, um, who takes all the targets basically. So I would probably go Jordan Reed. All right, let's get some defense. Okay, we got one Seahawks or Browns. So we've talked a tad about this matchup, both these matchups, the Browns and the Giants and the Seahawks and the football team. Great name. Seahawks have been playing a little bit better these last 2 weeks. Now, granted, they played the Jets, so I don't know if you can really count that. And it was a Jamal Adams revenge game. So, yeah. Then you got the Browns on the other side against the Giants. Now, I've kind of talked a little bit about the Browns defense. They don't have much in the cupboard aside from Myles Garrett. However, I think Myles Garrett could have a big day. The Giants' offensive line is not great. Um, I'm thinking Myles Garrett gets at least like 2 or 3 sacks on his own. I think the Browns get 5 sacks for you. I would probably go Browns defense, even though Washington is starting Dwayne Haskins. I'd probably go Browns slightly, slightly. Some more defensive matchups we got. Let's go Bears versus Dolphins. Okay, so Dolphins just announced some inactives or people who are out for the game. Mike Gesicki, Devontae Parker, and Jakeem Grant are not playing. Doesn't necessarily affect the defense, but I think it's got to affect Tua. Okay. Dolphins have been playing really good, and this defense has been one of the best in the NFL. For fantasy, they've been terrific. I've got them. The Bears are playing Minnesota. You're not really sure what you're going to get out of Kirk Cousins. They're also playing against Dalvin Cook. Let's not forget that. I think in this matchup, I'd go Dolphins. No Damian Harris, no Julian Edelman for New England. We don't really know what Cam we're going to get, if we're going to get stinky poo poo Cam, as Zach once said. I think I would go Dolphins in this matchup. I'd be a little weary. I'd temper my expectations some because Bill Belichick is a great, great coach, the greatest of all time. But I would go Dolphins right here. Another defensive matchup. Let's go 49ers versus football team. Okay. So we put a defensive rankings video together. I think Zach did it. If you want to go check it out after here, you can watch all our defensive rankings. I think we did about 15 teams. So we got 49ers versus Washington. 49ers have Richard Sherman back. All right. Now, this 49ers defense has been decimated by injuries all season. It's really hard to depend upon them as the defense they were last year. And we've got Washington on the other half, who has a very stout defensive line that they could get inside and mess up the backfield. They could limit Chris Carson. I've talked a bit about that. I think it's a better matchup for the 49ers. I'm really not comfortable playing them. Washington has been a good defense all season. We've seen Seattle struggle before. It's tough. Oh, man. I hate to say this, but I think I'd go 49ers. It's tough, really tough. I have neck and neck. But if you want to get Zach's opinion on them, go watch the defensive rankings for Week 15. I'm pretty sure Zach talks about Washington in there. I'm not sure he talks about the 49ers. Yeah. Oof. I hate to say it, but I go 49ers. All right, another one from Cole Kids 31. Rodrigo Blankenship or Younghoe Koo. You know what? Thank you, Cole Kids. I did a kickers ranking video, and no one talks about kickers. They're basically bonus points for you. So let's talk about them. In my rankings, I have Rodrigo Blankenship number 1, and I have Younghoe Koo at number 3. Conventional wisdom says to start Blankenship. But you really can't go wrong with either one, honestly. Youngwei Koo has been insane from long range. I gave a stat. I can't remember that exact stat. I think it was like long range field goals. He's been really, really good. My rankings say Blankenship, but I'm a Falcons fan. I'm a homer, so I might go Youngway. Um, Butker in gold as well. Mac Mells, thanks for putting that in the chat. Um, I have gold at the bottom of my rankings and Butker a little bit higher. I'd stick with Butker. It's Drew Brees is playing for the Saints, so should be a shootout. Ideally, Michael Thomas is out, so Emmanuel Sanders should take on a bigger role. I think it's going to be a shootout, and I'd go Butker. Higher scoring offense, tons of opportunity. You got Patrick Mahomes, definitely. All right, Lewis DeHope. Thanks for sending in the chat. We got Cooks or Connor in the flex, half point PPR. Here is a tough one. James Conner. Oh, man. I'm a James Conner owner, and I'm not, super high on him. Oh, it's tough. It's really tough, but I think I'd go Brandon Cooks. Tons of opportunity. It's a bad matchup for him against Indianapolis. But James Conner, I mean, he's been really rough all season. I think he's in line to play this week, but I temper my expectations. I'd go Brandon Cooks. He's the number one target for Deshaun Watson. It's not a great matchup, but if Indianapolis can get ahead, then Houston could be getting back in garbage time. And I'd rather go Brandon Cooks, half point PPR. Connor should see a few targets, but not as many as Cooks. And Cooks is still a good wide receiver. Cooks is still a really good wide receiver. All right, so we got a little bit time left. Let's go Lockett or Cooks, Mac Mells. Lockett or Cooks. Tough matchup for both of these guys. I think Lockett has a better upside. I'd probably go Lockett, even though I just talked a lot about Brandon Cooks. Lockett has probably the better quarterback, arguably the better quarterback. DK Metcalf is there to take away the better corner matchup. I'd go Tyler Lockett slightly. Cole Kids back again. Put in my flex. Justin Jefferson or David Montgomery. Tough one right here. Justin Jefferson's a stud. David Montgomery is a man on fire. Oh man, hard to. If you can put Justin Jefferson in your lineup at wide receiver, I'd put him in there because I really don't want to sit David Montgomery in a really good matchup. Slightly David Montgomery. Man, you guys are killing me with these questions. We got time for about one or two more, so if you got them in the chat, send them in. If not, then I've got a couple that I can still answer out of our doc. I'll give you guys a minute or two to put one in the chat. But hey, if you want, go follow us on Twitter at GrownUpFF. We're getting a lot of inactives and stuff coming out right now. So hey, we got a couple on Twitter. Let's get those real quick. Cam Newton, Amari Cooper, or T.Y. Hilton from Dan Gilliam. Okay. I talked a little bit about Miami's defense, and I think I'm tempering my expectations, but we don't really know what we're going to get from Cam Newton. I think out of the three of these guys, the talent is on Amari Cooper's side. T.Y. has the better matchup. Man, I'd go Amari Cooper. I just talked about it. Let's go Amari Cooper there. Thanks, Dan. Charles Golden on Twitter as well. Scary Terry or Troy Pollard in PPR? I think I'm going Scary Terry here. It's not super hard right there. Dwayne Haskins is in, and he's going to target Terry McLaurin a ton. So I would definitely go Terry McLaurin over Troy Pollard, and not the best matchup. Especially Mark McCarthy hates the running back. So I'm not very high on Ezekiel Elliott this week, really this season. All right, I'll give you guys One more start sit. Thank you guys for sticking around too for all 30 minutes. I've been really appreciate everybody in the chat as well. Let's go with start three right here. Cam Akers, David Montgomery, Allen Robinson, or Justin Jefferson. No, I'll tell you what, I've actually already answered that. Excuse me. Let's go another running back right here. Miles Sanders or James Robinson. Okay. James Robinson, like I've said, has been matchup proof pretty much all year. Um, really hard to sit him. Miles Sanders, on the other hand, so when they put in Jalen Hurts in Philly, it really opened up the offense because they're running a lot more read option. And Miles Sanders took it to the Saints with like a 200-yard day and 2 touchdowns. He was an absolute stud last week. Arizona's not as good on defense. However, I'm tempering my expectations a tad on Jalen Hurts this week, which, they might run the ball a little bit more, which they should with Hurts in there. It's tough. It's really tough because I like Miles Sanders this week, but I have James Robinson a little bit higher in my rankings. Yeah, I'd slightly go James Robinson. Slightly. I think Miles Sanders does have a good day as well. But hey, I think that's gonna do it. Unless you guys have any more questions, I think we're gonna end the stream right about here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is our first live stream for Grown Up Fantasy Football. Be sure to subscribe. We're putting out rankings for week 16 and 17, and then we get to the playoffs. We're doing some playoff pick'ems. It's going to be a lot of fun, you guys. Hopefully, we'll do some more live streams. I'm coming live next Sunday, hopefully, and the Sunday after that for week 17, doing all kind of rankings. Thank you guys so much. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at GrownUpFF. Be sure to watch for inactives. They'll be coming out right about now. It's 11 o'clock Central, 12 o'clock Eastern. Watch over those inactives. And hey, go win your matchups, guys. Go win your matchups. Get to the championship and win your league. I believe in you. We got through it. And go get guffed, guys.